It's generally agreed that the world can't keep consuming conventional energy at the present rate. Not only are such resources finite, but they also cause worrying rises in global temperatures. What's needed is more focus on energy conservation and the development of clean, renewable energy sources. This is the Centre for Alternative Technology in mid-Wales. The centre was opened in 1974, when more and more people were becoming concerned with environmental issues. 50 young idealists took over a disused slate quarry. They built homes, planted vegetables, and began developing ways of using renewable energy to power their community. 30 years on, the centre welcomes 70,000 visitors a year, offering them the chance to look around a thriving, vibrant community with every kind of alternative energy technology you can think of. Amanda Roll-Pickering lives and works here and believes that alternative technology is vital for the world's future.
Right now, the Western Hemisphere uses more than its fair share of the world's resources. If everybody lived the same lifestyle that the average person in Wales lived, we'd need 3 planets. We just don't have that amount of space. We only have 1 planet, and it's not fair that others should go without because we want to consume more resources. And it's not fair on the planet because there's a lot of destruction being made in order that us humans can lead good lives. We think that we can have a high quality of life, but by using less power, by living more sustainably, and we want to promote these ways so that they catch on. Well, here at our visitor centre, we have all kinds of exhibits that show people what you can do in your own home. We're not a blueprint for what a village should look like. It's more a place where you can pick and choose different ideas. For example, in our home exhibition, you can find out about energy-saving light bulbs or different insulation that means that the power you use in your own home is reduced. You can go to our gardens and see different ways of growing without using dangerous and toxic chemicals. Or you can look at the different building materials that we use here. Rather than using concrete, which is really, really toxic, you can use straw bales or earth or really natural wooden building materials and frames.
The centre is run on renewable energy. A combination of wind, hydro and solar power is used to provide their electricity. There's even a wind and solar powered telephone box. When they create more energy than they need, it's exported to the national electricity grid. If they have too little, they import some back. This house has an integrated solar roof, which uses sunlight to generate the electrical needs of the offices below, including their 11 computers.
Here we are at some solar panels that are actually working, generating this pump here. Basically, the light that's falling on them now, even though it's a relatively dull day, is actually enough to be creating electricity and making this pump go round here. These are the solar cells, the solar panels, also known as photovoltaics. The light is hitting the active bits of the panel here and creating an electric charge here, which is going along all these wires, being collected and going into the pump and making it run. Now, to prove to you that this is actually working from the daylight today, we can demonstrate and cover it up with these clouds that we prepared earlier, which should be enough to, yep, there we go, slowing the pump down and stopping it. And as soon as the light falls on it, it starts up again.
Replace standard light bulbs with low energy light bulbs like this one. Low energy bulbs use only 7 watts of electricity compared with a 60 watt standard bulb and last 3 times as long.
Solar power is very versatile and can be used in a number of ways. By installing a solar water heating system to your roof, you can get hot water for free. The sun heats up the panels and the tubes, which in turn heats up your water supply. Simple, yet efficient. But what happens to your bath when there isn't any sunlight?
If it was dark, if it was nighttime, then yes, obviously you wouldn't be generating anything. If on a day like this you will be generating something, although not as much as on a sunny day. The ideal solution is also to do a mix of renewable sources. So if you've got solar and wind and hydro and biomass, you're covered for the whole energy requirement.
Another way to save fossil fuels and prevent pollution is to get on your bike. Not only is it good for you, it's good for the environment.
Alternative technology can also be used for energy-efficient transport. This is a water-balanced funicular railway, which carries visitors up the cliff to the centre. Water falling on the hillside above powers the railway for nothing. In the summer it makes up to 120 trips a day, with 17 passengers each time. How it works is simple. There are 2 cars connected by a cable. The car at the top has its tanks filled with water, which makes it heavier than the bottom car. The brake is released, and as it descends, it pulls the other car up. When it reaches the bottom, the water is emptied from the tank, recycled, and the process begins again. Transport for free.
Prevent pollution and save fossil fuels by using public transport. Get on a bus or a tram or a train rather than taking the car.
But it's not just the sun and water that are good sources of renewable energy. Wind power is becoming more popular. The wind farm is now the most established alternative power source in the UK. This one is located in Newtown in mid-Wales. When it was first built about 12 years ago, it was one of the first in the country. It covers a large area, with over 100 turbines supplying nearly 20,000 homes. But what happens on a calm day?
The wind doesn't blow all the time, and they only generate in specific wind conditions. These turbines will generate when the wind is at 5 metres per second, and they will cut out 25 metres per second. But in general, they will be running probably 30 to 40% of the time. It's never been claimed that wind farms will replace electricity. They'll always be part of the energy mix. So we'll still have coal stations, gas stations, renewable energy such as wind, wave, tidal, and also nuclear power stations. I'm standing next to a typical turbine. This is the tower, and it's made of steel. This particular unit is 38 metres high, and on top of the tower is a nacelle. The nacelle is made of fiberglass and steel and houses the generator, gearbox, hydraulics and all the control components. The blades are attached to the gearbox and are made of fiberglass. These particular blades are about 14 metres long, and this turbine is capable of producing 300 kilowatts of electrical energy. The energy is transported via cables inside the tower, underground into these transformers. Now, via underground cables, it is then transmitted into a local grid network via overhead power cables.
Wind farms have their critics. Some regard them as a blot on Britain's beautiful landscape. John doesn't agree.
I view them as very graceful. Kinetic sculptures is one of the things I've been told. I think they're very, I'm not going to say pretty, but they're very, very nice. They're part of the energy mix. I believe that they're part of the future.
Grow your own fruit and veg. If more people did this, there'd be less need for intensive farming, which damages the land. It's good fun too.
Sustainable living is not just about renewable and sensible energy use. At the centre, they also practice alternative approaches to gardening and advise visitors on how best to grow their own food organically. Nothing goes to waste here, and there's a whole area dedicated to composting, where everything from kitchen scraps and paper towels to garden rubbish is all converted into top-quality organic compost. The whole process takes a few months, but it's definitely worth it.
This is where we make most of our compost. and you can see it's quite wet. We have to keep it wet because it gets so hot that it evaporates all the moisture, and then it doesn't do its composting properly if it's too dry. So we add urine to this. We have urine in vast supplies from the lads. They pee into a 5-gallon container. Much more easy for boys to do than girls. And so we add urine to our compost as an activator. So you can see how hot it gets by the steam that's coming off. And the composting process is well underway. Well, this is probably the least liked job on the farm or in the garden. The turning of the smelly compost heaps. Nobody likes doing it. In fact, we have to wear a gas mask to do it because of the ammonia that's given off.
Saving water is very important and very easy. Turn taps off when you're brushing your teeth and take showers instead of baths. These things can help save a lot of water.
This is the community area of the Centre for Alternative Technology. I live here with 11 other members of staff and our families. You might be able to see that some of these houses are original buildings from when the slate mine was in operation before the centre came here. And we've restored these buildings so that we can live in and fitted them out with different environmental features so that we can be practising what we're preaching in the actual visitor centre. This is my lounge. Now, all the walls are really thick and well insulated, and they're painted with environmentally friendly paints, so that means much less chemicals and a more pleasant environment to live in. You'll have seen outside that we have solar water heating panels on the rooftops. That's a really good source of heat in the summer, but in the winter when there's not so much sunshine, we are much more dependent on this burner. It burns wood from the local sustainable forests. For every tree that's chopped down, a new one's planted, and that's really good for the environment. This is my kitchen. Now inside here we try and be as environmentally friendly as possible. We recycle everything, so I have separate containers for plastics, for paper and for compost too. You'll see in this kitchen there are a lot of things missing that you might expect to find here. There's no fridge, no freezer, no washing machine or dryer. Now with the washing machine and dryer we share one between the whole community because that saves a lot of water and electricity. And also with the fridge and the freezer, we don't need them because we tend to buy foods that are dried, that will last well in storage. And because we buy these types of foods, we buy them in bulk quantity, they last a lot longer and they're a lot cheaper too. Living in a community like this with all these different environmental features might seem like quite a challenge when you think of all the different things we do, but it's very easy to get used to quickly, and I think most people could adjust their lifestyles to take on a lot of these different things. I really enjoy living here because as well as feeling quite good because you're being environmentally friendly, there's a real sense of community. When I've lived in cities and towns before, I've not really felt that, and that's really the best thing for me about living here.
The Centre for Alternative Technology may only be a small community deep in the middle of the Welsh countryside, but if we all took just some of their ideas and principles into our daily lives, we'd certainly be doing our planet a favour in the long run.